Hello, everyone. We have a really great lesson planned for today. We're going to be learning about Gideon. Gideon is someone that's really important in the Bible. This story takes place in the book of Judges, and we're going to be learning about how Gideon got this really small army and how he was able to conquer the Midianites with just a few people. So, in Judges chapter 7, we learn about Gideon. He was actually someone who was a real scaredy cat. He was really scared. He was always hiding. He was like someone who was scared of the dark. I don't know about you, but when I was little, I was really scared of the dark. I could not sleep without a nightlight. And that's what Gideon was like. He was really scared of everything. And God showed up and said, Gideon, I call you. You are going to lead an army against the Midianites, against the enemies. And Gideon didn't believe it. So he tested God. He took a jacket and he said, God, if you are really telling me to lead Israel against the Midianites, I'm going to leave my jacket outside and make my jacket wet and the ground around it dry. So the next morning he went out. Guess what? His jacket was wet, but the ground was dry. And then he still was not convinced. So he did it again. He said, okay, God, you got me the first time. But he said, for the second time, make the ground wet and the jacket dry. So he did it again, and same thing. God answered his prayers. Well, eventually, God puts him in charge of the army. There's 22,000 people, but God says, send them home. So there's only 10,000 left. And then God says, even with the 10,000 that you have, bring them to the stream and make them drink water. And anybody who laps up the water and doesn't look at its surroundings, keep those people. Well, if you know anything about war, you want the people who are alert and who drink the water while standing up so they could see if their enemies are coming. But the people who lap the water, just stick their heads in the water and just start drinking it, those are the people that you don't want. Well, God said, keep the people that are lapping the water like this and not paying attention, keep those people. So he ends up with 300 soldiers that are not really good soldiers. And God was saying that I'm going to use these people to fight the Midianites. Now, why would God do that? God was teaching Gideon a lesson and teaching all of Israel a lesson that it's not about might, it's not about strength, it's not about money, it's not about power, it's about God being on your side. And if they had a big enough army, if they were a wealthy country, they could say, oh, we won this war because of all the things that we have. But God wanted to make sure that Israel understood that they won this war because God was on their side. And that's really the important lesson. I think oftentimes we doubt and we're scared, and God might ask us to do something, but we don't want to do it because we're scared. And this story is all about understanding that when God is on your side, then anything can happen, that we can accomplish anything, even if the situation seems really impossible. As you could see from my picture, there were thousands and thousands and thousands of Midianite soldiers. And Gideon had very little to work with, but he, in his faith, carried out God's commands, and they were able to defeat the Midianites in our story. So it's a great story. I love the story of Gideon. When I think about Gideon, so many times I think about myself, because so many times in my life I've been kind of a scaredy cat and I didn't want to take chances and I didn't want to take risks. But every time I felt like God was telling me to take that extra step. I remember, so many different parts of my life, God was saying, take that job. This is what you need. Or go to seminary. This is what I'm calling you to do. Or reach out to that friend that you haven't spoke to in a while. This is what I want you to do. And each time God tells me to do something, it's a great risk, because sometimes I think, well, if I do that, then this is going to get messed up. Or if I do that, I'm going to miss out on this opportunity. But in the end, God asks us to obey in faith and to trust in Him and trust in God's strength and trust in God's power. So that's what we need to do. I hope everybody enjoys the story of Gideon, and I hope you learn to have faith like Gideon. Amen.